16:08 to go here in the first half. Syracuse taking on an old rival here. We've already taken on one Big East foe. Former rival in UConn in the Garden, 52-50. That was a rock fight.
That was a beyond a rock fight. Nobody could score in that game. They had to bring somebody down out of the stands. They hit a half-court shot. Remember that?
That is actually accurate. Peak walking with it. And we'll take the timeout. Syracuse on top 9-4 in the early going. More on that goodbye about that moment and that victory for Georgetown. You're going to get some funny looks here by the Syracuse faithful.
Not at all happy about it. At least as time has marched on, not a lot of folks have moved on from that. But it was, John Thompson knew how to get under your skin. What an amazing competitor. He built an incredible program at Georgetown, and this rivalry was really second to none in the Big East.
Of course, his son now the coach in his 13th year at Georgetown. Hoyas picked to finish 4th in the Big East. Very rugged conference this year. Here's Gillen getting his first start of the season. Shot clock down to 3. Howard's got to get it up there and left it short.
Georgetown did a good job defensively staying in front. The one thing the Hoyas really need to do is stay down on fakes. Syracuse has been able to use shot fakes and ball fakes and get this Georgetown defense to move.
Now, both of these teams have veteran guards, fifth-year guys like Rodney Pryor. In the lane, Derrickson, it won't fall for him. Pryor averaging 21, shooting 58%. That's going to be a timeout by Jim Boeheim's bench. So Syracuse takes the timeout with 14:59 to go here in the first half inside the dome. We look forward to Wednesday at 7, Kentucky and Louisville, another showdown.
Well, Louisville, one of the best defenses in the country. They can press, they can force turnovers, they're long, they're athletic, and the offensive rebound. Ron Gillen just breaking that pressure all by. He's so quick, he stepped out of his shoes.
And took a hit. The 6'4", a 6-foot graduate from Houston, Texas, right out of the sneaker.
That's just a tying your shoes issue. You wonder how can guys step out of their shoes so easily? Obviously they're low tops, but that's like kicking them off at the end of a day, long day at the office.
After going end-to-end, fouled by Hayes, who picks up his first. So 2 shots for Gillen, who typically comes off the bench. The grad transfer, his role is to do exactly what he did there, push the ball up the floor.
Push it up the floor and make open shots. He's shooting almost 50% from 3 on the season. He's 13 of 27 coming into this game. He's another grad transfer. Started off at Arkansas Little Rock, then transferred to Colorado State, and then as a fifth-year, as a grad transfer where you can transfer and then be eligible right away. Coming to Syracuse where he can really be a big lift.
Are you a fan of the rule? Both schools have done it.
I am. I just would like to see some consistency in whatever the rule is. But I don't see any reason why, if they're amateurs and just regular students like everybody else, why they'd have to sit out. They don't have to sit out when they're freshmen. Why should they have to sit out when they transfer? It doesn't make any sense.
Pryor down the lane and takes the hit. Fouled by Tyler Lydon, 6'9" sophomore. There's been some talk about Lydon entering the NBA draft early. Is he good enough to do that? Are you seeing enough in his game for him to jump early?
Well, he's good enough to jump early, but I don't think there's any reason to think he should do it right now. That there was a lot of talk about it last year, but last year Tyler Lydon was a freshman. He's probably the 4th option offensively on the Syracuse team. Now he really should be option number 1. Andrew White is the leading scorer, but Tyler Lydon can do so many things. So the one thing he doesn't do yet, Dave, is put the ball on the deck and drive by you. But he can pick and pop, and he can block shots and rebound. He's a good player.
Hayes went to the block. Good job there to tie him up. Possession arrow, keep it on this end.
Bradley Hayes is a really key performer for this Georgetown team. Missed the first 4 games because of he got another year of eligibility after his injury. And there was some inexplicable NCAA decision to make him sit out for 4 games. But last year against Syracuse, he had 21 points, 8 rebounds. Tyler Lydon was telling me before the game, he said, I thought guys I would play against would be big and strong. It was a totally different level when I first played against Bradley Hayes.
And a jumper on the way, but that will not drop. And Georgetown grabs the rebound. Thompson off the mark.
That hit the backboard from the corner. That's hard to do.
It did. Simply a good three-point shooting team. That one switched in by Peak. And he does more than anybody for the Warriors, doesn't he?
Yeah, L.J. Peak has really started to drive the ball more. And he's getting to the free throw line. He gets to the free throw line almost 6.5 times per game, which is double his career average coming into this year.
They're good foul shooting team. Georgetown's going to win a lot of games at the line. They hit 78%.
And they get there a lot. They get there about 28 times a game.
Irish jumper. Actually, Gillen on the mark from the corner, and he'll knock that one in.
And how do you get that to go down, Dave? By shot faking first. And Georgetown's got to stay down on these fakes. They're capable of doing it, but they got to stay on the floor and not rise up until the offense leaves the floor.
A follow-away jumper and knocked in. Nice touch there by Derrickson at 6'7". Gives him a good post presence as well.
Yeah, he was injured to start the season. Only been back for a few games, nowhere near 100%. But he gives another big body that can rebound, which Georgetown needs. But he can also make open shots. In the middle of that zone, I think he can be really, really effective. And then maybe dump the ball down to Bradley Hayes down low when he ducks in.
Howard denied at the line and throw it away. Picked off by Trey Campbell.
Frank Howard has got to play better against the better teams that Georgetown is playing against. You know, he is leading the league, leading the ACC in assists, but he is averaging a ton of assists against the poorer teams they're playing against. And here's L.J. Peak knocking down a shot. That was just too many guys converging on the ball. And you see Peak was flying by. Great shot fake by John Gillen. You know, Dave, on Frank Howard, you know, Frank Howard against UConn, Wisconsin, South Carolina is averaging only 2.6 assists per game. He's averaging 9 against the rest of their schedule.
Good shot, won't drop there by Hayes. He's a 7-footer. So you talk about serious size. Line straight on. That's a shot he can hit.
That's how Frank Howard gets more assists. That was a really good pass. But that is some range by the big man, Tyler Lydon.
So that brings them to life here inside the dome.
You'd think they'd be cheering just for being inside.
A lot of snow here overnight. Long range way downtown by Campbell. Nice job on the baseline to save that by Thompson.
Well, this is a good lineup for Syracuse. A good scoring lineup, and it's just a question of whether Thompson and Lydon, they're both lighter. They're not big, bulky, big guys. I like this offensive lineup.
Gillen trying to penetrate, swooping in, but it won't drop. Line tried to keep it alive. Georgetown to try and run now. Campbell wants to get it and go. Derrickson fouled just inside the foul line, but 11:24 to go here in the first half. When we come back, Jay will go 90.
It's been something different in every game, and they've had an opportunity the last 4 games where they've been able to practice. Early on in the season, they haven't practiced as much. They're playing so many games and going to Maui, all these different things. But that's one thing that I think Georgetown's got to clean up. They've got to be more of a presence on the glass. And one guy that's got to do that is Bradley Hayes. I mean, Bradley Hayes is a big body, and he's got to step in there and start controlling and patrolling that paint area.
Hayes is 7-foot senior. White makes 1 of 2. Now, Georgetown playing their first game in 6 days. Really hitting the Power 6 conferences. They've already played a pair of Big Ten teams, a Big 12, a Pac-12, and now in Syracuse, an ACC opponent. He gives it up for the wing jumper, and that one rattles in by Pryor. And again, 53% beyond the three-point line.
Really remarkable. He's hit over 33s on the season. I mean, he can really do everything. He's 24 years old. And when he decided he was going to leave Robert Morris, and Kansas was interested in him, Gonzaga, Florida, and decided to go to Georgetown.
Here's White the third, but that one ticks the iron. And the Hoyas trying to push a little bit of tempo here as Peak pulls up. He can hit the three-pointer as well, 38%.
He should have given it up earlier. Rodney Pryor, he was wide open in transition. Syracuse's transition defense a little bit slow.
And Peak with a three. And now Georgetown jumps into the lead, 23-22.
A couple of really good offensive possessions of moving the ball and being ready to shoot. First Rodney Pryor, then L.J. Peak. And now all of a sudden they put the ball in the basket a couple times. Now the defense is more active. That's where I think their coaching staff will say, look, we can't have our offense dictating how good our defense is.
On the baseline, fumbled a bit by White. Shot clock down to 9. Howard's pass was tipped. His battle from the corner, and that didn't touch anything.
Georgetown needs to run. There's stuff in transition available if they'll run.
Well, Pryor thought about it from about 24 feet.
Gow in the middle. You got Bradley Hayes down low. That's it. That ball. Bradley Hayes, if he ducks in hard, he will be open.
Gow's pass was tipped in the lane off of Gow and turned over by the Hoyas. Howard wants to push into a bad pass. Picked off and a reach and foul by Coleman stops the clock with 5:17 to go.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain how Frank Howard struggles against the best teams that they play against, but nice ball movement here by Georgetown and putting the ball on the deck. That collapses the defense. It's not supposed to collapse a Syracuse defense that is supposed to stick with the best shooters. And the two guys that can hurt you in the zone are Rodney Pryor, LJ Peak. They have to be identified. But that's, Dave, where Syracuse has so many new pieces. Their defensive habits are not necessarily Syracuse defensive habits. You know, John Gillen and Andrew White have defensive habits that they've developed over their time, not only in high school but college. But they're like freshmen to the Syracuse program. They don't have Syracuse habits yet. And as they establish those, Syracuse's defense will continue to get better.
Andrew White's played for 2 different schools. He's played at Kansas. He's played in Nebraska before coming to Syracuse.
Still searching for better weather.
Yes. Has not found it.
Left Kansas for Lincoln, Nebraska. Now he's looking for even better weather here in Syracuse.
He's got about 5 or 6 inches overnight here in the Syracuse area. That's nothing new.
I asked John Wildhack, the Syracuse AD, can you get us some better weather? He says, what are you talking about? It's beautiful.
He loves it here. As Gillen drains the 3, and now it's becoming a 3-point shooting contest.
All right. 3-point shooting contests are only fun when they're 3-point making contests, and they're making them, which is a good thing.
Tied at 25, Gillen with 8. Gow with a spin in close, and that drops in.
Boy, a lot of congestion in there. Koya Gow and Bradley Hayes are essentially right on top of each other. But when Georgetown gets it into the middle, Koya Gow has proven to be able to make some plays in there.
Gillen feeling it. That won't drop for him. Big battle for the rebound. And it'll stay on this end. The foul will go against Georgetown with 4:21 to go in the half.
That was a real point of emphasis, Dave, before the season, is to try to clean up some of the pushing and shoving that goes on that are not legit blockouts.
Do you think it's working?
I think it's working. I mean, we have had too many calls where they just call it, oh, geez, how easy is that?
Line for 2 off the inbounds.
My goodness. Moses didn't have a bigger lane to run down.
Tied with 9 in the first half. Tied at 27.
A lot of coaches will say that out of bounds underneath, offense and defense is kind of like special teams in football. That's not an offensive foul. That's a foul.
It is called an offensive foul, and that'll be his 3rd on a Gow. Koya Gow in trouble.
Dajuan Coleman, you would have to hit him with an entire football team to make him fall down like that.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought.
And Georgetown just fell asleep. They didn't have him. They got 2 guys guarding Dajuan Coleman, and that couldn't be easier. I mean, that is about as poor a defensive possession as you're going to find on out-of-bounds underneath, and something that Georgetown cannot give away baskets on the road.
Line playing with those 2 fouls, as Seth pointed out, with 3:43 to go here in the first half. At the foul line. Coleman calling for it on the low block. Caused a lot of attention there. Shot clock down to 6 and an offensive foul.
One good flop deserves another. It's almost like karma. Dajuan Coleman, when he was playing defense on the other end, Koya Gow catches the ball, just kind of turns around. Now, what kind of force would have to be applied for Dajuan Coleman to fall down like that? That was there was nothing to that. And so one good flop deserves another. And the referee's like, look, were they in good defensive position? Was Rodney Pryor in good defensive position? Yes. But guys are going down when they're not getting knocked down. And the reason they're doing it is because the referees keep calling it. and we're not going to get flopping out of the game if the refs keep calling.
It's got to stop. Coleman with his third, by the way. So he's on the bench.
See, I don't think it's that hard. You got a big, strong guy. You got to think about how much force needs to be applied for somebody to get knocked down.
Stolen away by Howard. Ahead of Steve. He's going to dunk and blocked out of play there by L.J. Peak, who recovered and got his hand on it.
Why do you go behind your head and try to tomahawk one when you got somebody behind you? Watch this. He brings it back to his neck. That is not a smart play by Frank Howard. Get the ball to the rim as quickly as you can. This is not about dunking it. It's about getting it to the rim and laying it off the glass as quickly as possible. When you got somebody right behind you, he basically begged L.J. Peak to block the shot.
White with a miss. And a rebound by Hayes, making his presence felt.
And I speak from experience there. Nobody had more shots blocked than I did. So I know exactly how to get a shot blocked.
Hey, you almost came here to Syracuse.
I did. I was the first recruit from California that Jim Boeheim ever recruited.
Is that right?
That's exactly right. And after he found out he'd get me, he went out and recruited the good players out in California.
Pryor with the 2, 29-27. So you almost came to Syracuse to be coached by Jim Boeheim.
I almost did. I visited here in October, and I'm from Los Angeles. I went outside, and it was over.
Thompson draws the foul as he tries to go to the rack. October is actually a beautiful time to be here.
It is beautiful, but I was somewhat of a weather wimp back then. If it was below 70, it was considered frigid.
Hayes with his second.
Jim Boeheim used to call me every day that the weather was better in Syracuse than it was in Los Angeles, which was great. I didn't hear from him that much.
Thompson to the line, making 73%, and nails the first. Well, what did it come down to? Obviously Duke, and was it Iowa? And Lou has become a very good distributor, but a rough one so far this afternoon.
Well, but it's interesting in his numbers. Against the 6 sort of lesser teams that Syracuse has played, he's averaged 9 assists per game, Frank Howard has. Against the 3 best teams they've played, South Carolina, Wisconsin, UConn, he's averaging under 3 assists per game. And so what he's got to do is be more of a playmaker against the best team, because that's what's going to count going forward. They're not going to play teams like they've played in the first part of this season.
Gillen to Leiden. And a rare miss for him. He's been just about perfect so far today. Well, tonight, after a full day of bowl games, it's Sports Center at night with John and Nicole. All the highlights from the bowl games, as well as the Dolphins, Jets, the NBA, NHL, college basketball, NFL news. 1980, we talked about that earlier. John Thompson declaring Manley Fieldhouse officially closed. We talked about the Graham punch.
It was a wave. That was a wave.
It was a wave, and Syracuse with a 10-point possession, receiving 3 technicals. John Thompson got 3 technicals by 3 separate officials in that game.
Well, first, so thin-skinned back then.
Hayes with 2. But you made the point, as we were chatting earlier, there was a lot of talk about how physical it was back in the day. You believe it's more so now?
Yeah, well, with the freedom of movement rules we've got now, it's getting better. That was a really good drive. And that's what Tyus Battle's got to do more of. But your point about, like, it got really physical as far as cutters were concerned, physical on the ball. I mean, you were afraid of Georgetown back then.
Yeah. Because
they would trap you, they would block your shot, and they would dunk on you. It wasn't because they bumped cutters or they mauled you in the middle of the lane. That didn't happen.
Oh, he airmailed that one. The rebound picked off. Back for Pryor, who knocks in 2.
But Georgetown is now starting to get offensive rebounds and loose balls. And right now, Syracuse is having a hard time executing half-court offense and getting the shot that they want. And Georgetown's defense has been much more focused in the second half than it was in the first.
Now for the Hoyas, their biggest lead of the day. White had to adjust his shot. Right on the back down to his right. Hooks it up and in.
Excellent patience in the post. And good poise in the post by Tyler Lydon. This by far has been his best game of the season.
16 points. And the crowd comes alive again.
Good screen at the top of the zone by Marcus Derrickson.
Pryor, baseline, floats it up there. Hayes picks the rebound. He's having a strong second half on the glass. Pryor again. Battle fall away, and here come the Orange. Battle, tricky pass. Here's White.
Another great fake by Andrew White.
Pryor beats everyone and lays it in. And he'll be at the line for a three-point play.
Rodney Pryor is the one Hoya that can just explode on you points-wise. And Georgetown doing a great job of beating the zone up the floor. And how about Rodney Pryor keeping his eyes on the prize? Never took his eyes off the rim after he got hit.
Your eye McFreshman's opportunity lost for the SEC. Billis would be good in the middle of that 2-3 zone.
I'd be good in anything.
See? Well, it's Pryor at the line looking for a three-point play. And he connects at 83%, an outstanding foul shooting. And give him 15, and Georgetown with a 51-46 advantage.
The issue is where are points coming from for Syracuse right now. L.J. Peak guarding Andrew White, who's a catch-and-shoot scorer. Tyus Battle has been more of a three-point shooter, even though I think he can put the ball in that. Got a switch there. Bad play.
Threw it away. It picked by Pryor and denied there by Battle. So outstanding defense by the little guard. Now he leads the break. Play has gotten real sloppy.
It has. So's defense.
And White shreds it for two.
We had Bradley Hayes on him and Andrew White putting the ball on the deck. Tyus Battle got a switch on the prior possession. And everybody thought he was going to shoot it, and instead threw it away. A lot of congestion in the middle. Can't just throw the ball around the perimeter. You've got to penetrate this either by the pass or the dribble.
Harrison with a swing. Back for Peak. His one-hander is short, but he wins it back. Back inside. Nothing there. And tipped out of play by the Hoyas.
Well, L.J. Peak knew he had missed that little floater. Man, did he go after that with two hands. See, on the last possession, Bradley Hayes, he is on an island by himself. He was looking at the ball screen instead of just forcing him into the ball screen. He's in trouble there when he's guarding a quicker player. Get to the baseline side, force him to use the ball screen where you can get a switch. Instead, he gave up the baseline, gave up a layup.
We'll see if White becomes a hot hand here. He'll take a hit with 10:01 to go in the second half.
Well, unfortunate for L.J. Peak. I thought that White walked with that before the foul.
I think White's actually gotten away with a couple of them here in the second half. 51-48, Syracuse with the ball. And Gillen in the backcourt for White, who had a 26-point game against North Florida, and he hit 7 threes, so he can really heat up. And here he is straight on, but he missed it.
That's a 2-3 zone again for Georgetown on the out-of-bounds underneath.
Coming up, Notre Dame, Purdue, and also Davidson against number 3 Kansas on a busy day of college basketball on ESPN.
Well, Kansas better guard Jack Gibbs from Davidson. He can really score.
Derrickson around and out with another rebound.
Well, that's the area where you may be able to take advantage of this Syracuse zone, but you got to have a playmaker there. And you can see, I thought Derrickson kind of guided that shot instead of just catching it and letting it go. And Derrickson's one of the guys that can do it, but there aren't a ton of guys that can really operate in the middle of that zone.
Gillen to the paint and a foul. Very quick step by John Gillen out of Houston, Texas.
Well, he's a body seeker, isn't he? When he goes off of 1 foot near the basket, he is looking to get into a shot blocker's body. And Bradley Hayes telling one of the referees there, he says, what do you just call a foul? I'm bigger. That's all that happened there. He came into me.
That's his 4th. 8 points for Gillen, who drew a start today, his first of the season. Holiday Hoops presented by Zales continues Wednesday.